The damage did not come from a crash, a protest, or a rule violation. It came from a fifth-place finish at a .625-mile short track in North Carolina. When Shane van Gisbergen crossed the line fifth in the Window World 450, four other drivers fighting for the final playoff positions lost something they cannot get back. His cushion above the elimination line jumped from 31 points to 54 points in one night. Austin Cindric, Erik Jones, Preece and Brad Keselowski are now fighting over effectively one fewer available spot, and the man who did it to them was supposed to be beatable on ovals. Earlier that same night on lap 52, something happened that explains why the garage was caught off guard. Shane van Gisbergen passed Denny Hamlin, the Cup Series points leader and one of the most accomplished short-track drivers in the field, to take the lead. His reaction went out over the number 97 team radio. "I'm leading. What the do I do now?" Van Gisbergen cracked through the no. 97 team communications. His team answered him directly. "I don't know. Go straight," the team replied. He was not exaggerating his own surprise. Before that night, his career high for laps led on an oval track was 12. At North Wilkesboro Speedway, he led 4 times for 49 laps, second only to eventual race winner Joey Logano, who led 3:23. The driver, labeled a road course specialist for 3 straight seasons, had just recorded the most dominant oval performance of his career. And the number that matters most is not exciting at all. It is the word average. That word is now the most important term in the entire 2026 playoff race. To understand why average is such a threat, you have to understand how far below average he used to be. From 2023 through 2025, Shane van Gisbergen made 12 starts on road courses and 38 starts everywhere else. On the road courses, he collected 6 wins, an average finish of 7.6, an adjusted points plus index of 279, and a driver rating of 121.9. Adjusted points plus is a simple measurement to read. 100 represents the Cup Series average. An index of 279 means his finishing quality was 179% better than the series average. That is not merely good. That is one of the most dominant specialist records ever assembled in the sport. Then look at everywhere else. Across those 38 non-road starts, his average finish was 25.0, his adjusted points plus index was 48, and his average driver rating was 50.0. An index of 48 means his finishing quality was 52% worse than the Cup Series average. Statistician Neil Payne examined this split against every driver in the modern era, meaning every driver who debuted since 1972. Among that entire group, nobody had bigger gaps in their adjusted points plus or driver rating on road courses versus all other track types through their first 12 career road races. As Payne noted, it was not remotely close. That is why the specialist label attached itself so firmly. It was not media invention. It was arithmetic. His road course results were historically excellent and his oval results were historically poor, and the distance between them had no precedent in more than 50 years of racing. There was a reasonable expectation inside the sport that this was simply who he was. He might improve some on non-road courses, but the gap looked permanent. A driver who arrives in NASCAR at that age with a career built in supercars racing in Australia and New Zealand faces a specific problem. The muscle memory required for high-speed oval racing takes years to build, and he was attempting to build it while competing against drivers who had been doing it since childhood. That expectation is now outdated. The improvement did not arrive as a single result. It arrived as a ladder of milestones stretching across 11 months. In September 2025, Shane van Gisbergen earned his first oval top 10 finish in the Cup Series. In May 2026 at Nashville Superspeedway, he recorded his first oval top 5. That result came in his 64th Cup Series start. During that race, he traded the lead back and forth with 2-time Cup Series champion Kyle Larson before finishing 5th. Then in July 2026, he finished 6th at Echo Park Speedway, a drafting track, and 1 week later, he finished 5th at North Wilkesboro Speedway, his first career top 5 on a short track. The Nashville performance revealed how the improvement actually works in practice. Crew chief Stephen Doran went off strategy and took 2 tires during a lap 35 competition caution, which put Van Gisbergen ahead of the field for the restart. He then led 12 of the next 16 laps. Joey Logano got the jump on him at the restart, and Van Gisbergen passed him back. He described the sequence afterward. "It was fun, and I was surprised how much grip we had on the 2 tires." Van Gisbergen said of the battle, "It was cool to try to put myself in a good spot and air on him in a bad spot. It was cool to battle. I took back the lead at one point. It was really fun." He also described the swing and car balance across that night with unusual bluntness. "It's amazing you start up front and your car feels so nice, and then you go to the back on strategy and it felt like a bucket of," Van Gisbergen said. "It was good getting strategy back and we got to the front again. It's so good racing up front, you get better and better. I enjoyed myself tonight." Add those results together and the current picture emerges. Shane van Gisbergen now has 7 finishes of 11th or better on non-road courses in 17 starts this season, with an average finish of 19.3, an adjusted points plus index of 97, and a driver rating of 67.4. Cup Series average for adjusted points plus is 100. Cup Series average for driver rating is 70. That is the entire story, and it should not be inflated. He has gone from a significantly below-average driver across all ovals to a basically dead-average one in less than the span of a season. He is not dominating ovals. He is competing on them consistently, which he was not doing before. There is also an honest caveat, and it matters. His numbers at intermediate tracks, although improved, remain below the Cup Series norm. At the mile-and-a-half style tracks, he sits at a 21.6 average finish, a 77 adjusted points plus index, and a 58.2 driver rating. He is comfortably above average at superspeedway and drafting tracks and at short tracks. The intermediates remain the unsolved portion of the schedule, and Van Gisbergen has said openly that there is more work to be done there. Crew chief Stephen Doran flagged the road ahead directly after Nashville. "This is what we need to do with all the ovals," Doran added. "Top 10s are now the benchmark for us to be satisfied with. I think we can do it the next 2, and then we've got 2 road courses after that." So how rare is a turnaround like this? This is where the story stops being a weekly result and becomes a historical event. Neil Payne ran a specific search. He looked for drivers whose careers began after 1972 who had shown real road course ability, defined as at least 5 road starts with an adjusted points plus above 100, while compiling a genuinely bad record everywhere else, defined as at least 10 non-road starts with a career adjusted points plus below 50. Then he looked for which of those drivers turned that record around with an index of 90 or above over the following 20-race non-road stretch. 3 names came back. Jerry Nadeau in the 2000 to 2001 window had 5 previous road starts at a 116 index, 81 non-road starts at a 35 index, and then posted a 128 index over his next 20 non-road starts. Robbie Gordon in the 2001 to 2002 window had 7 previous road starts at a 166 index, 54 non-road starts at a 33 index, and then posted a 91 index over his next 20 non-road starts. Shane van Gisbergen in the 2025 to 2026 window had 12 previous road starts at a 279 index, 35 non-road starts at a 44 index, and has posted a 96 index over his next 20 non-road starts. The same exercise using driver rating produces a similar short list. Payne searched for drivers with an above-average driver rating on road courses, but a rating below 50.0 everywhere else, who then posted a rating of at least 65.0 over their next 20 non-road races. Michael McDowell appears in the 2023 to 2024 window with 39 previous road starts at a 70.1 rating, 408 non-road starts at a 48. 1 rating, and a 70.0 rating over his next 20 non-road starts. Robbie Gordon appears again in the 2001 to 2002 window with 7 previous road starts at a 92.0 rating, 52 non-road starts at a 47.7 rating, and a 67.5 rating over his next 20 non-road starts. Shane van Gisbergen appears with 12 previous road starts at a 121.9 rating, 35 non-road starts at a 48.5 rating, and a 67.2 rating over his next 20 non-road starts. There is an asymmetry inside those lists worth pointing out. Jerry Nadeau entered his turnaround from a road course baseline of 116. Robbie Gordon entered his from 166. Shane van Gisbergen entered his from 279. His road course ceiling is far higher than either comparison, which means the distance between his best surface and his worst surface was substantially greater than anything either of those drivers had to close. He was climbing out of a deeper hole relative to his own established ceiling than any driver on that list. Now to the mechanism, because a great deal of inaccurate material circulates about how he does this. The genuine differentiator is right foot braking. This technique is commonplace in supercars racing but foreign to the current generation of NASCAR regulars who brake with the left foot. It first drew wide attention when Van Gisbergen won on debut at the Chicago Street Course in 2023 in a Trackhouse Racing Chevrolet fitted with a television camera in the footwell, which showed his pedal work to a national audience for the first time. The driver himself deflates the significance of it, speaking to Dale Earnhardt Jr. on the Dale Jr. Download podcast. He explained why the technique matters less in the current car. "I don't think it is a big advantage. Of course I'm going to say that, but it's all I've known," he said. "I used to do it because you had to in a V8 supercar. Because they would have a lock diff and you'd have to run so much rear brake to make it turn, you could control the rear lock in the brake zone. Then as you got to the brake zone, the clutch would be out as you turned in and it would help the car to turn. But in this, you don't need to because the diff is open. So you don't really have rear locking because you can run so much more front brake bias." He added a broader assessment of the attention it receives, saying that people overthink it. His data is not hidden. Rival teams can study it closely through NASCAR's open book system. Knowing what he is doing and copying it have proven to be two different problems. His own Trackhouse Racing teammate Ross Chastain described the difficulty after Watkins Glen. "My feet are on the wrong pedals when I do it his way," Chastain said. "I've learned my way and, at 33, it's tough. I can do it intentionally for like a corner or three, and then I get to the next corner the next lap and I go back to my way. It's just muscle memory." Joey Logano of Team Penske began the Watkins Glen weekend right foot braking and abandoned the attempt during practice. His teammate Austin Cindric has also attempted the switch and entered a Supercars wildcard event in Adelaide last year, partly to practice the technique. Denny Hamlin was taught to road race using right foot braking and used it when he won at Mexico City 20 years ago, but does not consider returning to it realistic now and doubts the next generation will adopt it. "It's going to be really hard," he said on Actions Detrimental. "I just don't see anyone coming up the ranks that are volunteering to learn that style and stick with it. Here is the nuance that most coverage of Shane van Gisbergen misses entirely. At North Wilkesboro Speedway, he did not use one technique. He switched between them during the race. It's a bit like a road course here," Van Gisbergen said. "I tried right foot brake for a bit. Half the race I right foot braked and just felt comfortable doing that. It's a real balance track and you can really affect the car with your driving technique. So yeah, I felt comfortable doing that. That is adaptability applied to a specific track shape, not a fixed trick applied everywhere. The less dramatic factors matter more." Rookie teammate Connor Zilisch identified the central one, which is tire management. "You never see him slipping tires," said Zilisch. "There's times where, like out of turn 6 into turn 7, everybody else is getting to wide open and he's not even getting to wide open. Just little things like that where he doesn't push the car beyond what it needs to be pushed." Crew chief Stephen Doran and his setup work form the second factor and preparation forms the third. Van Gisbergen ran the Craftsman Truck Series race at North Wilkesboro Speedway on Saturday, finishing third, and applied what he learned the following day. "It was just a real solid day," Doran told NASCAR.com. "You speak about the race yesterday. I feel like that helped him a ton. Just learned the track. He used some of the lines that he figured out yesterday in the truck." Van Gisbergen has also named his own weakness plainly. The primary challenge is getting up to speed quickly off the hauler. After a handful of laps, he is confident in the feel of the number 97 Chevrolet, but by then, his tires are worn at most venues. He described his progress in simple terms. "I think it's always just time and always learning stuff," Van Gisbergen said. "Even just learning stuff throughout the race and learning the flow of the race better." This brings the story back to the standings, where the consequences are being paid by other people. Shane van Gisbergen currently ranks 14th in the standings with a 54-point cushion over the 17th-placed Erik Jones, the top driver outside the current cut line, with 5 races remaining in the regular season. According to the Chase Odds forecast model built by Neil Payne, he now has a greater than 90% probability of making the postseason cut. The ripple effect is the part being under-discussed because of his recent results. Combined with improved performances from North Wilkesboro Speedway winner Joey Logano, who was also recently on the bubble, there is now only one chase position whose favorite sits below 90% to make it in. That position belongs to Austin Cindric in 16th place. A fight is now developing between Austin Cindric and the drivers below the cut line, namely Erik Jones, Preece and Brad Keselowski, all competing for one fewer available spot than appeared to be the case when the fate of Shane van Gisbergen was still uncertain. The narrative element carries just as much weight as the mathematics. Last year, his playoff berth arrived through the win and in format where road course excellence provided direct passage to championship eligibility. This year, although aided by 2 road race wins, qualification would come through consistency on ovals. That is a fundamentally different URSUM for the same driver. 2 road course races remain on the schedule, which means the familiar escape route still exists. Based on the last 11 months, he may not need it. That leaves one open question. Is an adjusted points plus index of 97 on ovals a plateau or a waypoint on the way to something higher? The intermediate tracks are the test, and they are the only portion of the schedule that has not yet moved. Tell me in the comments where you think Shane van Gisbergen finishes this regular season.